Okay, folks, I think we've got to go. I know that there's a few more attendees still to join. So you're aware this has been recorded. Gillian, is this going to be live somewhere at the end?
No, we'll be able to make it available on our YouTube channel, on our
Okay.
information playlist.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, sell more in the digital economy. What's this all about? Well, the background for those of you who don't know me, my name is Niall McKeown. I'm the founder of a company called Ionology. We're based in Belfast. We help businesses all over the world. We're working with SkillNet in order to deliver this program. Sorry, I forgot to put the SkillNet logo on this. It should have been there. And I'm going to give you a breakdown of how I see businesses that are really excelling and selling loads in the digital economy and what it is that they're doing right versus businesses that are simply digitizing what once worked and wondering why competitive advantage is ebbing away. And we're going to take a look at this just through the lens of case studies. So all of these case studies are true. Some of the names have been changed slightly to protect the innocent, but by and large, everything that you're going to see here is in reality and what happened. Let me get started with an old movie classic called Glengarry Glen Ross. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. It's about a New York sales team that are based inside an estate agency, selling real estate, and they're struggling. Now it's a star-studded cast. We've got everybody from Jack Lemmon through to Al Pacino and many more. Here's a quick snip from the movie.
With these leads, and you're killing my ass on the street.
I'm sorry you aren't happy here.
Yes, well, that's very cute, but you're running this office like a bunch of bullshit. You're on an override. You make money, we make money.
I'd like you to make more money.
Then give me a better lead and don't go waste my time. A sales
The
conference?
strategy comes from downtown.
Oh, the strategy? The strategy? Well, I think I'll pass.
I wouldn't.
Why is that?
When you come, then you'll see. Shelley,
John?
you ready to do or die tonight?
Oh, yeah, always ready, John. Always ready, John. And one thing, we were talking about the leads. I understand we got some new ones.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about at the meeting.
Here we are. Because I'm running into a little bit of a snag.
Yes, I've seen your sales figures.
That's the leads, John. You give me a better lead.
That's what we're going to be talking about tonight.
A personal bind. You understand? Personal problems. I could use a leg up.
After the meeting.
I hear the new Glengarry leads.
After the meeting, Shell.
In comes Al Pacino. I mean, a star-studded cast, but here's the message from it. It was all about the leads. You get me the right leads, I'll close out the deal. And to an extent, a lot of that in business to business still exists today. Where do the leads come from? And where are we getting quality leads? Now, how do we get the quality leads? How do you close them? And what part does digital have to play? And there's some businesses who think that simply existing and putting a website on the internet is its opportunity to sell more. And very rarely does it work. We're seeing lots of advice, in particular coming from government, saying, retailers, you've got to get into e-commerce, but the cost of acquiring new customers is higher than the transactional value of the deal. We don't have scale. Our cost overhead's too high. So we're seeing business to business operations that are employing marketers, going after markets that they can't compete in. They don't have the punching weight. They don't have the power. They don't have the differentiation. But we whip the sales teams ever harder. We drive the marketing teams ever stronger and tell them it's their fault. It's not their fault. It's that the business isn't built or fit to compete in the digital economy. And this is a very common problem. We put the pressure on the sales team, we put the pressure on the marketers to sell more. They struggle for the leads. They struggle and compete for the leads when actually the business isn't fit to gain business. Let me give you a quick example. There are banks in Ireland that take 13 weeks to open up a bank account. 13 weeks. And there are other challenger banks, it takes 13 minutes to open up a bank account. Yet the bank that takes 13 weeks still tasks its sales force and its marketers to improve its acquisition figures. It's got nothing to do with how we advertise. It's got everything to do with how we make a business that attracts the customer. I want you to meet Rachel McCausland. This is her standing in the middle beside her father. And Rachel has now just become the new chief executive of Low Refrigeration. Low is a very successful Irish business that has established itself all over the world doing rental equipment for around commercial refrigeration. They have offices in the USA, France, Spain, Germany. I mean, the physical presence is there. They have been fueled by private equity in order to fund their growth, and business was going fantastically well until a pandemic hit. No one had that in their strategy, but it hit. Now, this business has in its very essence built in innovation, the ability to practice and challenge conventional thinking by anybody in the organization, to take on the risk of trial and testing, and then to run with the test that works best using data. They have a data mindset. They have an experimental mindset. They have a risk acceptance that when you innovate, you may fail. And that's perfectly fine, as long as we're learning from it. Rachel and her father decide that it's time during the downtime when no events were happening, because a lot of these refrigerations are going into retail, a lot of them going into events like trade shows and open days. And if you happen to be a meat producer, you would have 20 refrigeration units shipped to a trade show. You would display it, then they would take them off site, put them on site, all of that. Now, what they did find was that dark refrigeration, Amazons and Gorillas and these new emerging retailers who were digital only were starting to use their equipment, but it wasn't enough to replace everything that they lost during the pandemic. So Rachel says, I want to experiment. I want to test new opportunities that we have that leverage the existing business infrastructure, assets, connections, people, talents, and we're going to try and expand in new directions based upon the insights that we can gain. So Rachel talked about digital transformation of the business. Now, for those of you that have seen this before, forgive me, those who haven't, we have to define what this means. Digital transformation is the deliberate strategic repositioning of your business in the digital economy, leveraging emerging technology. Digital transformation is not buying tech and plugging it into your business. Although that may be a part of it, that everyone can do that. That does not give you strategic advantage. It does not strategically reposition you. It's a bit like buying a faster car and now saying, I'm transformed. No, the old car still got you to the destination. This is a new kind of way of thinking. And you'll notice that it is a business-wide, it's strategic, deliberate repositioning. Digitizing is when we take technology to make what we currently do faster, cheaper, better. And we should do that. There's no harm in that. But if you were alive when I was in the 90s and you bought a CRM system, it wasn't called transformation. In the 2010s, it wasn't called transformation. 2020s, oh, it's transformational. How come the buying of a tool went from just being part of our operational efficiency to transformational? So most of what we're doing in our businesses is not transformational, and nor should it be. It is digitizing, but it's mistaken as transformational. And that's the point. We mistake the acquisition of technology as transforming the business. And it might transform how we work internally, but it doesn't add competitive advantage. It doesn't reposition us. There's no value for the customer, or at best, it meets their expectation. The world does not need yet another app. The world needs problems solved and new problems solved. And that's where the transformation comes in. So Rachel knows all of this. She's taken the courses, she's taken the time to educate herself in what's the difference between transformational change and digitizing. To break this down a little bit further, the word digital is simply a synonym for the pace of change that's occurring in today's world, driven by the rapid adoption of technology. So this is my version of what digital transformation is. It is the synonym for the pace of change that's occurring in today's world, driven by the rapid adoption of technology. The pandemic took care of that. We eat online, pray online, school online, talk online, work online. Everything is online. There is no difference between online and offline anymore. You don't read something on Twitter and get Twitter angry, but you're not angry in the real world. I mean, emotions are connected to the internet. Our actions, our transactions, our connections, they're all connected. So the argument used to be, well, our customers aren't really digital. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Everyone is. The pandemic sealed that argument. It's over. Transformation in this context is how an organization is built to change, innovate, and reinvent rather than simply enhance and support the traditional methods. So it's how we are built to innovate and reinvent rather than simply enhance and support the traditional methods. This is why when we're going to see the sales challenge that exists within Rachel's business, how she solves it by innovation and reinventing, leveraging emerging technology in order to better position her business in the digital economy. So this is fundamentally what I believe. I believe is that strategy, what you plan to do is where you win or lose. Strategy is where you create the competitive advantage. And strategy has gone digital. Where are your customers? How do you know? Where is the data? Where is the competitors? Are they moving? How fast? How did you measure that? Where are the opportunities? Where's the emergence of new opportunities? Will we innovate into it? Can it leverage? What are we going to stop doing to create the capacity to make this happen? They're all strategic decisions. If your digital transformation is an IT project, it's digitizing. If it's strategically led with data, it's likely that you're able to transform new markets, new opportunities, new products, services, and new business models, leveraging what you have to fit what the customer wants in the digital economy. Your people and a culture of innovation are the things that will sustain that competitive advantage. So we can't expect, if leaders, managers, and decision makers who are, they were once a baker and now they're leading the bakery, well, being able to bake good bread and maybe even being able to run the bakery is not a guaranteed step of success that they will be able to digitally transform a business. And nor is just asking IT to come into it, not unless IT transform themselves first. And there's a whole program on IT transformation. How does IT need to reposition itself? Instead of being the PC and printer fixer guys, they need to become the beating heart of innovation. But you can't do that under the current infrastructure. So there's a whole IT movement. So your people and a culture of innovation sustain the competitive advantage we find in the strategy, and technology and communications are how it's delivered. If the tech is the tool, the communication is the language that will speak the value that you've created for the customer and explain why the job that once used to get done over here is no longer relevant, and we need people to move to the future state because technology is eradicating many system-oriented roles. So as you can see, a technologist doesn't have the authority to create the strategy to transform a business. It's leaders, managers, decision makers. And that's why Rachel is leading the charge in the change of low construction. She's getting her people and creating that safe culture of innovation, psychological safety, so that when they do something, they know they won't get punished. Rachel decides that they're going to take a look at a wave of change. We'll talk about waves of change in a second. She's going to take on a new technology called IoT, Internet of Things, that will allow her to offer new services to retailers and others that will allow them to be able to manage their real estate of refrigeration. So you imagine Tesco or Sainsbury's or any SuperValu, they all have open refrigeration going in their retail outlets. How much energy is that taking? What happens if the motor in the freezer department starts to break? It spoils all the food. There's water all over the aisle. The aisle has to close. What happens if there's a heater above it, blowing hot air down into it, which is forcing the refrigeration to go harder than it should? I mean, is anybody monitoring this? Is anybody managing this? How much is it costing to run a fridge? So Rachel says, this is a real customer problem. And so she starts talking to the technical people, and the technical people say, we're going to come up with an AI-enabled solution that will allow you to be able to understand from machine learning models to predict operational efficiency and work on virtual battery. This is the video the tech guys came back with when they were charged with digital transformation. See if you can hear the audio over the very loud music and listen to the wording of simply how technical it is.
LowConnex harvests millions of individual, otherwise unconnected data points from any enabled device. Using the latest wireless MQTT principles, LowConnex sends this data instantly and securely to a revolutionary cloud-based datasphere. Once collected, the datasphere provides an unparalleled 360-degree view of your connected assets and their comparable data. AI-powered automation and two-way communication provide a statewide predictive maintenance, continuously driving efficiencies that reduce costs within your work order systems. LowConnex automatically generates insights and proactively makes decisions around energy usage and demand by employing rule-based logic such as virtual battery principles to save consumption.
Enough.
And at LowConnex Bureau.
Did anybody understand any of that? Can anybody come on to the microphone? Are they able to? Gillian, are we able to come on the mic? To put up their hand?
Yeah, we should be able to there now.
Okay. Did anybody make sense of that? If you wanted to talk, please do.
Yes, but because it's my industry anyway, kind of technology and energy and things like that. So it made sense to me. And also I think a technical persona, different personas and selling, I think that kind of ad would really resonate with them. But then someone who's not as technical and who are more emotional, the different personas when you're selling might not respond to that as well as the technical person or the logical person.
That's a great answer, Ian. Yes, it would work if the person searching for the product is a techie.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Techies aren't searching for this. Well, not to the same degree as the business units were.
Mm.
So the difficulty we have is that initially when we give it to technical, because it is a technical product, they came back with a technical instruction set. But the question then is, who is the customer? Who is driving this? Who needs this? And so in comes Stuart Penrose. Stuart Penrose is a seasoned B2B marketer. He works for Lowe. He's worked in many companies. I've had the great experience of working with him several times through his career. He's a genius. He truly gets the difference between just selling and aligning the business to the market using data and understanding waves of change. Now, waves of change are really important when it comes to selling, because if we can align with a wave of change, the likelihood of success increases. What do we mean by a wave of change? Well, first of all, I'm going to give €1 million to whoever can tell me which ad this was for. Which TV ad was this for? Anybody, just shout it out.
Yes.
Guinness, and you're €1 million better off. It's the old Guinness ad. And the idea of, if you take a look at the guy on the surfboard, he's great, he's amazing, but now look, he falls and he falls and he falls and he falls, and it takes multiple falls from the guy on the surfboard before he gets it right. Christy Moore used to sing about this. As I sit looking up at the beginning side, I could never figure out how your man stayed up in the surfboard after 14 pints of stout. Well, those of you that are too young to remember won't get it. But the point of this is that a wave of changes are always coming in society. And Stuart knows that he has to pick a wave of change if he is to magnify and amplify the value proposition in order to coordinate that with the customer. And then he has to push that wave of change back into the product specifications, the definitions, the strategic imperative of the business based on his data-driven insights. Here's waves of change: an impending recession, house prices too high, house price collapse, Brexit, supply chain issues, war in Ukraine, climate crisis, skills shortage, energy crisis. This is even before we go into your industry. There's usually waves of change. Now, here's the interesting thing about what Stuart does that's different to most marketers. Stuart knows that there's different positionings that can happen for a business from a marketing perspective if he can get the business to change and connect it with the customer out front. He knows that he can use advocacy. Advocacy means word of mouth. Go to the existing customers, see how that works. So that's shoe leather. You use your own media meaning your email marketing, your social media, your postage, whatever it happens to be. The customer has a mild and informed relationship with you. It's within your niche. Everything is good. You're one of the many suppliers. If your price is good and we like the cut of your jib, then you'll get the deal. The problem with advocacy is that its growth is slow. It's slow because it goes at the pace of shoe leather, connections, relationships. Now, this is not a bad thing, especially for a small business. It's the default. My father has a business, well, he's now second generation, 45 years, built purely on advocacy. Great profits, good Irish business, does well for itself. But if you wanted to double the size of it, well, another 45 years should do that. And most businesses don't have that kind of patience. Depends on their financial structures. If it's supporting a family, yeah, you do. If it's private equity investment, no. They want out in 3 years. Few businesses have, big expanding businesses have the patience just for advocacy. Then there is authority. Authority is very different from advocacy. Authority, everybody talks about you. Why would people talk about you? Why would everybody in your industry and outside your industry point at you? Anybody know? Come on, Jason, come on in.
Yeah, if you're doing something that's cutting edge and a game changer in your industry, similar to what we're doing, we've created these real-time reactionary avatars for Zoom calls such as these. And when you're doing something new, you can kind of get that buzz going about yourself.
Brilliant, Jason. You're absolutely right. And you have got to check out Jason's URL. Jason, come on, one more plug. You can do it. What's the website?
Yeah, it's Zavatar. I'll put in the thing, zavatar.co. Yeah, we create real-time reactionary avatars for metaverse, Zoom conferencing, and animation for film and TV.
I love it, Jason. You're absolutely right. It is also a sales webinar. Love you to get the plug in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason's right. When you move to authority, you have to do something that's innovative, that changes your industry. It has to be an innovation. Industry authority is not the same as being good in your industry. Everybody's good in their industry or they wouldn't survive. But what differentiates you is the innovation. And you have to take a position and become omnipresent. And that doesn't happen by little safe baby steps. It happens by taking a ginormous step and saying, I'm transforming. I'm going to transform my customer experience. I'm going to transform the industry that I'm in. I'm going to innovate. We're going to take the chance. And everybody talks about that. So you start to grow on a wave of change. If you get it right, the growth projections are much better than advocacy. So being good in your industry is an expectation. Being an industry changer and innovator is measured not by you saying we're the innovator, it's because everybody in the digital economy shares your content and talks about you and points at you. This can be measured. There's metrics for this. We'll take a look at it. You're going to measure your own quite soon. In the attention block, this is where you pay for ads. And there's nothing wrong with you don't innovate, you just pay for ads. The thing about paying for ads is it can grow, but all of a sudden the cost of acquisition can equal or be greater than the value that you're getting out of it. Google wins, you lose. And what happens, like Glengarry, Glen Ross, give me the leads, the salespeople will cry. But it's no longer viable due to competition to pay for the leads. So the innovation move is usually the one that most businesses go for. The prime is a position of defense only in mature markets. There isn't a mature market for neuromorphic computing developers right now. So there is no prime, but there is for car tire manufacturers, ice cream flavors. They're all taken, those positions are taken. So innovation in a new wave of change, because a wave of change doesn't yet have anybody looking for it. So when we know that we're going to make a strategic decision about moving to a particular wave of change, you will see that the wave of change is usually powered by an accompanying technology. I'm going to put this into the URL in right now. This is the free version of Propulsion. You can check it out. Propul. That's not right. Just check this. Sorry, folks. Oh, here we go. If I could spell the word propulsion, it would have helped. That should be you now. Okay, are you in there? If you want to put into the chat window just what your score is, your propulsion score is, and you will see that it will try to position you in the quadrant where you likely are. And this is in the digital economy. So this is not to say that you're poor or your business isn't performing. It's just to say that in the digital economy, sometimes you may not be as represented, or you may be an innovator, but you're doing a damn good job at hiding it. So that's it. So anybody who wants to put that in, please just put it into the chat what their score is. Here's the point, is that if we get to, forgive me, here we go. If we decide that we're going to become an industry authority on a new wave of change, it's usually powered by leveraging some sort of emerging technology. And the lists of emerging technologies constantly change. Cloud is in there, but I mean, cloud is almost an expectation now. It's not a differentiated tool that would be used. It's just going to be part of everything that we do. So you've got to leverage the technology. And then what happens is you start to see your communications can change. This leads to better marketing, because right now, if we've no unique value proposition in the digital economy, all we can do is go, woohoo, look at my products and services. Our new product is better than theirs, so we become opinionated. But as innovation starts to increase, we start to become more creative, more confident, and the language starts to change on our website. So what propulsion measures is not what you write, but the reaction to what you've written. And if you're innovating, but you're afraid of the competitors seeing it, well, then you're also afraid of the customer seeing it. So it's a matter of, you've got to innovate, publish, and be judged. And it's a tough old sport. But this is how you reposition yourself in the digital economy. This is how you get into a position of strength that no one's in. And when you become an authority, it's very difficult to dislodge an authority. It's difficult to get there, but once you're there, it's difficult to move from that. Okay, I'm going to show you the different propositions that Rachel and Stuart tried in the marketplace. They've decided that they're going to, that the language in the video was too complex, but they do know that technologists do have a part to play in it. So they start talking about smart solutions, intelligent automation. LoConX is an award-winning cloud-based IoT software platform and hardware solution that enables retailers to implement intelligent automation at scale. That's an interesting one. I think, Ian, that's pretty close to what you would have understood. I get it. You know what it does. But what about addressing the pain? Let's try this value proposition. Energy reduction. Easy as IoT. Analyze live data. Implement instant remote changes. LoConX IoT-powered energy reduction solution makes energy management easy. So I'm going to now ask you to look at all 4 of these and select which one of these 4 you think is going to be the most successful. Which of these 4 you think is going to be the most successful? So we've got, we'll revise them all again at the end. We've got the intelligent automation. Automation sounds good to me. I'm relieving manpower to do other things. Energy reduction feels good to me. Number 3, comprehensive data, centralized reporting. With intelligent IoT technology and a dedicated bureau of data scientists and energy management experts, LoConX doesn't just help retailers achieve energy and emissions reductions. We actively help retailers track and report their ESG environmental progress with error-free, up-to-date, auditable data. So they're hanging their hat on the environmental, social, and governance movement that's happening. It's now part of European law. All retailers in Europe must report with financial regulations and ESG regulations at the end of each year. And here is number 4, energy reduction, kind of like ESG, but they're talking here about the movement around net zero. So it's a little more specific. Reducing carbon emissions is a challenge with a ticking clock, but it has been extended to every business in every sector, but it's retailers who are the most affected by scope 2 targets. So they're now talking about scope 2 targets, something that retailers will understand. Okay, my friends, I am going to ask you to enter a quiz. And what I'm wanting to know, Siobhan, sorry, I missed your 60, 100, 23. Oh yes, got 60. So Siobhan Daly's got 60 out of 100. Clearly, Siobhan, you are in a digitally innovative business. I'm guessing large scale. I'm guessing multinational. I'm guessing a business that has a good legacy and has been active in the digital economy for many years. Would that be reasonably correct, Siobhan? You can put it into the chat. Yeah. So you'll find that businesses that are digitally active, that have invested in innovation, they do score 60s, 70s, you know, the Apples of this world, the $2 trillion businesses, they score 100. Wikipedia is 100. Google's not 100, but it's close to 100. I mean, you can usually get a guess, whereas small businesses are 20s and 30s. Here's the point of propulsion. If you've got a 20 or a 30 and you take a look at one of these value propositions and you say, we're going to go into the German market and we're going to do energy reduction as easy as IoT, and you find that there is someone who has a propulsion score similar to that of Siobhan's, 60, your chances of stealing Siobhan's market are pretty damn low. Data-driven decision-making. However, you go to the French market and the other competitors, Kathleen's 23 out of 100. I'm guessing a small business, Kathleen. We're a private cloud provider, yes. And we're hiding our digital maturity. You're not hiding your digital maturity, Kathleen. My guess is that you don't have an innovation team innovating and creating new products and services that change your industry. You're a supplier of services to meet demand, but you're not necessarily innovating in that space. You're being creative in that space. You're helping solve problems, but there's no product, service, or business model created that's buzzing the market right now, or the numbers would appear higher. That does not mean your business is bad, Kathleen. But what I'm saying is, if you're wanting to get inbound sales inquiries from international markets or enter new markets, you won't have enough with 23 and an undifferentiated proposition to grow into that market unless demand is outstripping supply. So with two very different, not bad, neither of these businesses are bad. Neither of these businesses are bad at all. 60 or a 23. They're just different sizes in different areas doing different things. Siobhan's business, I can guarantee you, is innovating, or it wouldn't have that score. Kathleen's business is unlikely to be innovating to the degree where it affects the market. Here's the question. I'm going to ask you now to enter into a survey. I'm going to put it up here, HTTPS. Hopefully I'll write the right URL. I am going to ask you to click on that URL, and I'm going to ask you to vote for which one of those 4 solutions do you think the market responded most positively to? Which one of those 4? So if you'd like to start clicking on it, remember we had smart solutions, energy reduction, we had move towards net zero, we had comprehensive data and centralized reporting. Which one of those 4? Kathleen, correct, small but growing rapidly. Congratulations, Kathleen. I have no doubt you are. You're doing a good job, and advocacy is driving those sales. One person down the road says, you've got to talk to Kathleen. They're doing a great job. Kathleen, if I needed some private cloud solutions, who should I ring? Can you tell us in case anybody here wants it?
Strive Secure in Carlow.
Strive Secure in Carlow. Everybody, you've got to go to Strive Secure. Thank you for your participation, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not seeing anybody. Has anybody typed in the URL? Has anybody clicked on that? It doesn't seem to be updating here. Is it me? Is it the system? Let me just test it on my little mobile. Yeah, I'm able to do it. Can anybody else? No one going to pick which one of those 4?
Niall, where's the URL?
Oh, sorry, I put it to host and panelists. I couldn't make bigger mistakes today if I tried, could I? Send to everyone. Forgive me again. That's to everyone. Siobhan, you got right? Okay, Siobhan, you got the URL now? We've got no shortage on variety, at least. Okay. So the number 1 is the idea of energy reduction. Of course, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Cost of energy is going through the roof. It's not it. Move towards net zero. Yeah, we want to move towards net zero, but it's not it. Smart, intelligent tech solutions. Sounds good. IoT, using the latest tech. It's not it. The value proposition by far that outstripped sales inquiries, that created all the sales inquiries, was comprehensive data, centralized reporting based around ESG. Now, no one predicted that. One person did. But what Stuart did is he tested these. In fact, they're still all up on the LowConnect website. You can go and see them. They're still all there. He tested these with outbound systems, paid inquiries, email marketing outbound, Salesforce outbound, everything he could throw at it to see which one the customer cared about. And the one that the buyers, the people with the budget cared about, was about their own ESG reporting. Why? Because the others are like smoking cigarettes. The harm will come in the future. Doesn't matter right now. ESG reporting has to happen legislatively this year. The pressure on the business is not necessarily coming just from energy cost reductions, because it doesn't create competitive advantage. Because if everybody's energy costs go up, then all prices rise at the same time. But the one thing that they can't escape is ESG. You have to report on it. So he used the data, and Jonathan has just said, data is king. He's absolutely right. You cannot put technologists in charge just of innovation. It does require technology. It does require data, but it also requires strategy to understand this and engagement with customers. It means that everything, I would not have guessed the success. I would have been with you guys. I would not have guessed. By the way, who won $1 million there? Who came up with competitive data centralized for ESG? Anybody want to admit it? No. There was €1 million there for you, but so afraid not. Okay, so that's taken us so far. So what happened next was that Rachel now has her inbound inquiries. She's sitting looking at these things, and it's still difficult to convert the sale. Why is it difficult to convert the sale? Because everybody wants a trial, and the average trial costs about €12,000 or £10,000 to run it. What would you do? Anybody want to come on, Mike, and just tell me, we're talking here about business model innovation now. What would you do if you're faced with that? The customer, so she goes to a large retailer. The large retailer goes, yes, we have an ESG issue. We do need to start measuring our environmental credentials, especially around HVAC, heating, ventilation, refrigeration. We do like what you say. We don't have a budget. And Rachel's going, it's 10 grand just to get started. They're going, we'll have to put this to committee, bring it to the board, run it up the flagpole, try not to shoot ourselves in the foot. Then you need to bring back the test data once we pay the 10,000. We'll then take that data through to the management team, and then we'll see if we can put it into a few more stores, and we'll see if we can expand it from there. Anybody want to tell me what could be done? Because all four of those propositions actually work. It is technical, it is IoT, it does save energy, it does manage the cost of energy, which is quite high. There's no doubt about it. It does give you your ESG reporting. It does do all of those things. Anybody want to guess, where would you go in this when you're faced with that hurdle of how do you get the test in? It costs 10 grand. Anyone? Any guesses? What would you do? This is a sales problem. Okay, no one wants to hazard a guess. She gives it for free. She absorbs the £10,000 cost. So confident is she that she will return a report, and she said, okay, here's the deal I'll do with you. Not only will I put the installation in for free, I will put in everything right across your estate for free. And what I want is 30% of the savings you make on your electricity or your energy to power this. Now, some retailers that she's talking to have estates of 10,000 retail outlets. So she's not going to get all 10,000 in the first go. But what she does do, she then says, we need an innovation budget to test this business model of being able to put in the test for free, show as quickly as possible, no cost to them. They can cancel at any time. We'll take it out. We'll just take it as a cost of sale, because we're actually paying a full sales team 10 grand for one person per month when you include the marketing costs. You pay flight costs, car costs, go to see them costs, engineer costs, development costs. It's easily this per customer. This is, what if we could get this in faster? We could trial this out. We could give them the data. We could let them see that if we could get them, we could reduce their energy bill by 20%, and we'll take 30% of that saving. Does that business model work? So now in the innovation, we have the salespeople trying out the value proposition to see will the customer bite. We have the financial people in looking at the business modeling as to how this would work. We're taking a hit on 2 or 3 of the first installations to make sure that it does work before we start to roll it out to everybody else. We know the hook that gets the customer on the line in the first instance. We're building the business case studies in a new and emerging market on a wave of change powered by technology-based innovation. Rachel has repositioned that part of her business in the digital economy. She has created new value for customers. She's innovated around product. She's innovated around service. She's innovated around business model. And many of the things that they were trying didn't work. Like your guess and mine, the propositions that they went with the technical propositions, didn't resonate with those that were the budget holders. They had yet to pass that on to IT. IT did get involved, no doubt. It has to technically stack up. So the idea is that she has a proper process. Rachel knows the difference between understanding the customer problem and unmet need. That's where she starts, not with the tech. They then come up with ideas to solve that customer problem. They then use creativity to test. And many people just go straight to production at that stage. And she only takes something to production when the innovation itself has been tested. And when the innovation has been tested and proven that the business model innovation is still getting tweaked today, still getting tweaked, then they keep building this in as a process. Stuart Penrose is the guy doing the tests. He's getting the data. He's bringing it back. He's looking at the sales lead gen. He's looking at the funnel. He's looking at the value proposition that's resonating. He's going back and working with the development teams to enhance product features faster that match the market need. He's understanding the competitive advantage. He's looking at the propulsion scores and his numbers to make sure that he's taking market positions that he can win, because they're a relatively small business in comparison to Siemens or GE or something like that. And they're winning. They are winning. Other businesses typically say, that's not what we do. Let's spend more money on Google AdWords. Let's whip the sales team harder. Let's push the problem down to the marketers. Let's fire the agency and get in another agency. Let's not take on ourselves of understanding data. Let's not become experimental, because that has risk. And if there's failure, I don't want it attached to my name. Culturally, it's wrong. Culturally, it will not work. And the decisions that are not made by random acts of innovation, firing in the air like Wile E. Coyote cartoons where just random acts of outrageous expenditure is going on. I mean, they are all controlled. It is measured. There is process for this. Okay, that ends that case study. I want to show you one other very quickly. Here's 2 businesses side by side. They're in a wholesale. They supply goods to the hospitality market based in the UK. Price Busters has been going for about 60 years. And it is, over the last 10 years, it has moved from 60 million turnover to 70 million. It is decentralized warehousing, a catalog, web and telesales team. When we ask Price Busters, it's not their name, by the way. I've cut off the headings to protect their innocence. Price Busters is just the name of their catalog. And KitchenAid is actually the name of this little mixer that you can see here. It's not actually the name of the business, but let's refer to them as Pricebusters and KitchenAid. Pricebusters had a management fallout 10 years previous. And these guys set up on their own. They went from 12 million to 230 million in 10 years. These guys went from 60 to 70. These guys centralized their warehousing, brought out a catalog, brought out web, brought out telesales. These guys went and then stole the sales and marketing team from KitchenAid, and it increased their sales by 0%. Why? Because when you take a look, they're radically different businesses. These guys have over 20,000 lines in stock. They don't, because they've decentralized warehousing. These guys are open to the trading public. These guys have stock business to business only. These guys offer free returns. These guys, you've got to phone your sales rep and maybe. These guys offer next day delivery. These guys have their own fleet of trucks. These guys offer lowest price guarantee. Guess what? So do we. And we just do a rally to the bottom. Customers have migrated to KitchenAid. So KitchenAid thought, if we copy, Pricebusters thought, if we copy KitchenAid, then we too shall be good. We will be reborn. We will be regenerated. If we could just do it faster, cheaper, better than those guys, we will get to know, we will get to have some of their fortune. That's not the case. Professor Clay Christensen points this out in his 1998 book called The Innovator's Dilemma. Let me see, can I put on a little paint? Can I do annotate here? I can, yeah. Okay, let me doodle. Here's what Christensen says. If you take a look at the mainstream market, there is a point, a gap between when the market starts to open up, there's this gap between the amount of features and benefits most people in the mainstream market care about, making things faster, cheaper, better. But you see, when it gets to here, the customer doesn't give a shit anymore. Their market needs are serviced. So you creating something that is faster version of what went before here, a better version of the mousetrap that went before, that's great, but it might appeal to some kind of niche, high performance business, but the mainstream of the market doesn't care. And the only thing that works, according to Christensen, is if we were to take a look at a different kind of market and come in low, put in a couple of features, put in a couple of benefits, test that market, and then build your new value proposition based on the new innovations that you have until you start to meet the main market. This is how disruption happens. Many businesses keep thinking, the faster I make this, the better it will become. And the answer, Christensen says, is that that's not true. So what happened with our friends in Pricebusters is that they tried to become better versions of KitchenAid. And the market said, we don't have a KitchenAid problem. So what had to happen in that circumstance is that they went and tried to ask the customer what their problem was. And the customer's problem is with energy costs in kitchen, waste management costs, carbon tax credits, hiring and retaining chefs, catering for a large influx due to cruises and bus tourism. Now, no one from Pricebusters or KitchenAid has thought to ask the customer in the last 10 years what their problem is. They're using Google Analytics and they're looking for what product customers are looking to buy. Pricebusters say, okay, we've reviewed the market. We've spoken to customers. We need to solve these problems to become relevant, and we're going to innovate around our business model. They team up with a kitchen industry design company, and they say to customers, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove all of your problems for you. I'm going to become the fixer of those problems. We're going to install a new kitchen. We're going to take your waste away from you. We're going to help you calculate the carbon tax credits. We're going to give you new chefs, especially those that want to work in new kitchens. We're going to help you find them. And we are going to help with the new oven designs and everything else, so that if you cater with a new influx of people who just come off a cruise ship, you've got it, or buses that drive past, whatever it happens to be. You can prepare the night before and it'll change your workflow. And how much we're going to do this for? For free. We're going to take a slice of the energy costs too, because we're going to reduce, it's about 6,000 euros a month to run a commercial kitchen. The energy savings would be about 3,000 euros a month. We'll take your energy cost savings for 2 years. That'll pay for the kitchen. The rest comes free. By the way, you just have to order all of your commodity items for us for the next 5 years. Lowest price guaranteed, of course. New kitchen, you say? Lowest price guarantee. I'll be able to get rid of these energy costs down after 2 years, paying just by what I'm currently paying, get better staff, get tax credits back. Where do I sign? The value that these guys created, that story is short. It took 2 years to go on the journey. Hardest part of it, convincing leaders, managers, and decision makers that innovation in the business model was necessary. And it's not just having more tech poured on top of the old tech in the hope that this thing works. Folks, I'm going to stop sharing this now. We've got time for a few questions. Should anybody have any questions? Are there any questions there?
Really good presentation, Niall.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so just thinking how I can implement that.
Catherine, here's my experience. If you want businesses that want to digitally transform, cannot do it unless the leaders, managers, and decision makers take a course on what data means, the business capabilities of emerging technology, business model innovation. If they don't want to do that, if they want to, the baker wants to remain a good baker and not look at how the tools have changed, the game has changed, the business model have changed, customer behaviors have changed, and there's a new way of approaching strategy. If they don't want to do it, forget it. If no amount of tech saves that. So you start with the leaders, managers, decision makers, must take the course. And SkillNet have that on offer for free. I mean, it's for free.
Yeah.
The government pays for it. So that is your starting point.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
My pleasure, Kathleen, and thank you for your contributions. Has anybody got any observations or questions? No. Okay, well, look, folks, I thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoyed those case studies. I certainly enjoyed working with those people. And we help businesses to reposition the digital economy. We help you with sales, that whole sales process. We even go right down to helping on the technology departments understand they have to change their function too. You cannot be the printer IT repair guy. That has to change. You can't be the cost center if you're in IT. You have to become the value creation center. And that is a core part of digital transformation. IT people don't think that they need to transform because they understand the tech. They absolutely do, as well as leaders, managers, decision makers. It's a business shift. So, folks, thank you again. And I have no doubt we'll be in touch with the link to the recording.
Super.
Anything else there, Gillian?
No, we'll send out the link to everybody, the recording once it's up on YouTube. And if they want to visit our www.ictskillnet.ie, we have a whole range of courses there and some information about our digital transformation as well.
Thank you, folks. Have a good day. Nice talking to you. See you all again
Thank you.
soon.
Bye.
Hey guys, bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.